Hey everybody, welcome back to the Her Sacred Place channel. If you don't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you'll get notified each and every time a video is uploaded where we're talking about your sacred place over here. And make sure to like this button. Hit the like button to like this video. I would really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or concerns, definitely leave them below in the comment section. But we'll go ahead and get started. In today's video, we're going to talk about bacterial vaginosis. This is another very common form of vaginitis or inflammation or infection of the vagina outside of yeast infections. The previous video we did was on yeast infections, and this one is going to be on vaginosis. So typically, it's just called BV. You may hear women all the time say, "Oh, I got BV," or "I suffer from BV," or "Oh my God, I think I have BV." So basically, when the acidity in the vagina is reduced, so we talked about acidity and vaginal pH in a previous video. So if you didn't get a chance to watch that already, go back and watch that video on vaginal pH and why it matters. So when acidity in the vagina is reduced, means acidity goes down, that means pH goes up. The protective bacteria that's already found in the vagina gets too low, and it can lead to bacterial vaginosis. So that's basically how we get it. Some causes of getting bacterial vaginosis can result from changes in sex partners, certain vaginal hygiene products, such as douches, deodorants. A lot of my clients who have an IUD tend to always get BV. Some of my clients who have even gotten their IUD removed no longer get BV. So having an IUD is associated with an increased risk of BV. And then last but not least, smoking. Women smokers are at an increased risk of having chronic BV, which means they have it very frequently, than non-smoking. I'll have to look more into see the reasoning behind that, but I did find that in doing research on my BV, and I thought that was very important for me to note for you guys. So one of the most important things to know is that BV is not considered a STD or STI, which is a sexually transmitted disease or a sexually transmitted infection. Most women that have been found to have BV actually report no symptoms at all. They don't even know that they have this have BV because it can be asymptomatic. So some women go to the doctor for their yearly or their annual, and they're told they have BV when they didn't even know, because it could be that there are no symptoms from it. But BV can affect women who have not had any vaginal, oral, or anal sex at all. I read an article one time a few years ago about how it was prevalent in among nuns somewhere. I want to say it was in an Asian country, but it was very prevalent, and they were not sexually active or anything, but these particular nuns kept getting BV. I wonder if I can find that article again, but they kept getting BV or contracting BV or whatever I wouldn't say contracting, but they kept getting BV, and they were trying to figure out what could be causing this. But I say all of that to say that it's not sexually transmitted in any type of way, so you can be not sexually active and get BV. Some symptoms include a whitish or gray discharge accompanied with a fishy odor. And remember in the previous video when we talked about the colors of discharge and what they mean, whenever we mention gray discharge, we know it's bacterial vaginosis. Instead of this clear or whitish tint, it has a very grayish color to it. And the telltale sign of BV is that fishy odor. Whenever we are suffering from BV, it is very pungent odor. Especially, and it's exacerbated during sex. Also with BV, you can have this burning sensation while urinating and you may or may not have pain during sex, but it's not likely to itch or anything like that. Whenever we hear itching involved, we are more on the terms of yeast infections, which you can learn about yeast infections in a previous video of mine. But it's not likely to itch. It's usually just a very thick discharge and a very fishy malodor. So anytime you're feeling really wet and slimy and grayish down there, and it's accompanied by a strong bad odor, most likely it's BV. So BV does have to be diagnosed by a medical professional, and usually you'll prescribe Flagyl or Cleocin for BV. Whenever I have gotten BV in the past, they usually just give you around the Flagyl, and the pills are horrible. There's some big white chalky pills, but that's usually what you'll get prescribed with. With recurrent BV or someone who suffers from chronic BV, another course of antibiotics may extend the treatment, or they may give you a second set, because typically with BV you want to take pills, I want to say 2 or 3 times, maybe it's just 1 or 2 times a day for up to 7 days, or they prescribe them for 7 days. But if you're suffering from a chronic infection where it just keeps coming back, or it's seeming like it doesn't want to clear up, they'll go ahead and prescribe another week worth of treatment. But it's very common for BV to go away on its own without medical help once your bacterial flora is reestablished. Because like we were saying before, the protective bacteria, the lactobacilli, basically just gets very low, which causes BV to occur. But once the levels are back up or back to normal, or at what your body considers a healthy level for you, BV would naturally clear up on its own. So some people who get BV like to take medicine, or I wouldn't say like to take medicine, but they choose to take the medicine because of the odor associated with it, because none of us want to walk around with this horrible BV odor. But in itself, it can be cleared up on its own or go away on its own without any type of medical help. A couple natural things that people do, or natural remedies that people do for BV, is the use of probiotics. So basically, probiotics support bacterial colony that keeps the vagina healthy, and includes yogurt, fermented foods, and some cottage cheeses. So some women will do the probiotic tampons, and if you have any questions about that, make sure to drop it in the comment section below, and we'll talk more about that. Or some women just begin incorporating yogurt into their diet. They'll eat yogurt 1 or 2 times a day because they suffer from chronic BV, and they want to know, it's been shown that eating a lot of fermented foods or yogurt helps with keeping BV away. It keeps your good bacterial levels high in your gut, in your vagina. And so some women will just begin eating it, but some women will just do a yogurt tampon and use that as a natural remedy for BV. Another thing is the use of apple cider vinegar. So rinsing the external genitalia in a solution of 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar with 1 cup of water may alleviate the symptoms. We don't want to put that apple cider vinegar inside the vagina, because that wouldn't be healthy for our vaginal flora and could cause all kind of other problems. But some people may use a vaginal wash with a peri bottle with a mixture of apple cider vinegar, just to wash their external area to keep it nice and clean until the BV clears up, and that drastically helps reduce the vaginal odor that is common with BV. Another thing is garlic. A lot of people will put, I'm not as familiar with this, but I read that some people will take a garlic supplement, or just take a little small piece of a fresh garlic clove and insert it into the vagina. And that has been proven to help with BV symptoms and clear up BV, and it also masks that fishy odor that we were talking about. So if you do this and it works for you, make sure to talk about it in the comment section, because I'm not very familiar with the use of garlic for BV, but that is an interesting concept to me, and I would like to hear more from you about it. This one hits close to me because I have tried it one time, and I have many clients at Her Sacred Place who talk about using boric acid capsules. A lot of people will call me and say, LaQuinta, does this work? Or they would just ask me, do you recommend a brand? I do not have a particular brand that I recommend for the boric acid capsules or anything like that. But I can say if you have an underlying problem where there is chronic BV, or you get BV every time after sex, or you get BV every time after menstruation, or you just get BV every month, we call that chronic BV. I wouldn't recommend the use of boric acid capsules for that, because you're going to constantly be using them all the time. However, for a client who gets BV every so often, maybe twice a year, or she knows what she did to throw off her pH and for BV to occur, the use of boric acid capsules are fine. I do feel like they work. They have worked for me in the past, so I do feel like boric acid capsules work. But if you want to talk more about that, we can definitely talk more about that in the comment section also. Last but not least, tea tree oil might help prevent the symptoms of BV and help other infections too, such as yeast. So a lot of people use tea tree oil in their panties. A great thing I always tell women who suffer from BV, yeast, vaginal odor, or anything like that, Her Sacred Place Sacred Yoni Oil will be your friend. It has worked for me, many clients. I've had a lot of people test it out for this purpose. But if you suffer from frequent infections or vaginal odor, I tell clients, if you wear panty liners, take a few drops of that oil and drop it in the seat of your panty liners. Or if you don't wear panty liners, just take a few drops of that oil and drop it in the seat of your panties, just as a refresher, and you're likely to reduce, or it may reduce, your chances of infections. Most of my clients who have done this and started doing this saw a great decrease in the amount of vaginal infections that they have, as well as vaginal odor overall. So I highly recommend you guys. You can go to our website. It's www.hersacredplace.com, and literally purchase the Sacred Yoni Oil from there and begin using it, and you will definitely see a change in your vaginal health, because that stuff does work. But that's all I have about bacterial vaginosis. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. In the next video, we're going to talk about trichomoniasis vaginitis, but you may have heard it as trichomoniasis, or most commonly people just call it trick. But we're going to talk about that in the next video. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel, so you're notified each and every time I upload a new video. And as soon as you hit subscribe, go ahead and hit the like button. Basically, just give me a thumbs up so I can keep bringing you content like this about your sacred place. All right, see you in the next video. Bye.